All right, hello everybody, and thank you so much for signing into the power of SEO tonight. Sorry, you might hear some stuff in the background. We have we're pet sitting for some family members, so we have a couple of dogs running through, 4 to be precise. So you might hear some wilderness in the background, and that's all right. So tonight we're starting out with power of SEO number 4. Now we've talked about so many things. We're going to bring it all together as far as I think one of the biggest questions that people really get hung up on is, how do I build a website? What do I use, and the tools and stuff. So we're going to go through, look at a couple things that a lot of people come to me using, and we end up redoing their website because it's not helping them at all. And what I recommend staying just completely away from. And then also I'll give you a couple options is things that I like to use and some friends of mine like to use that really bring it together and make it easy for you to manage a website. Especially for your business. And one of the key things that we're going to be looking at, of course, is SEO. What works best for SEO, because you want to get found, and that's a nice free way to do it. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box as we go. And without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this puppy off. All right, so my name is Justin Velthoen. I started out years ago. I've got my BS in IT. I love developing. I love programming. I love computers until I had to do it all the time. And then I really, really didn't love computers. It's difficult to stay on top of. As I'm sure you're already aware, new programs come out every single month and day and year, and you really have to stay on top of it. And I still find it fun. Technology is, obviously in my blood, and I've done it forever. But I try to be a little bit more exciting. You can tell from the pictures, I like getting out and doing stuff. I live here in San Diego, so I just got my rescue scuba diving license. So I try to be active as much as possible. So when I was looking at that, I took a twist on it, and I went back to school and got an MBA. And now I was looking at these things from a management standpoint, not only like what is the best technology to use, but why is that technology good? And looking at it from a balance sheet and saying, okay, here's my profit and loss. Here's the amount of money I have to spend. Where am I going to spend it? And how am I going to make that the most effective use? And that is very different. I have a lot of friends, and well, not to be bragging. I have some friends, but there's often on my Facebook feed this sort of war between Tesla and Edison. I don't know if you guys see that every once in a while too, but Tesla was, I would say, almost the smarter person. He was able to come up with things that just radically before their time that we're still today trying to make use of and understand completely. And there's a lot of that stuff that's just not even ready now for, as people, for us to take a hold of. So he was brilliant guy. I have a lot of friends that think that he should have been more widely recognized and remembered more than Edison. But the thing is, Edison built things that people wanted. And I think that is the big key term. He had the business background. He had so many patents, somewhere over 1,000, somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 patents to his name. And he was constantly building things, but he was building things that people wanted. And when he built something, he would make sure he found a way to make it useful to people. And I think that's almost the more important part, because, obviously, as we look back in time, Edison is remembered a lot for electricity. And sometimes we are occasionally will forget that Tesla was there too, and right about the same time, and they were really coming to the market at the same time. It's just that Edison was able to get it to more people faster. So something to think about as we're doing this is not only can we do what we're doing, but how can we best serve the customer? How can we make that conversion? So moving right along, in case you haven't done so yet, go to C2CREIA005/21-day challenge. This is a fantastic goal program for you today to just get started. There's no better time than today than to go out and you have that goal. If you're on this call, you obviously have a goal that you want to be better, you want to be bigger, you want to do something more, you want to help people, and all of those things are fantastic, but you need a little bit of boost, a little bit of that rocket engine to point you in the right direction, make sure that you're going in the right way and as fast as your goal setting will allow. So the 21-day challenge will help you set those goals, walk you through that sort of the first few weeks to really get yourself pushing and rolling forward, and give you the tools you need to continue throughout your lifetime to achieve the goals that you want to do. So definitely go hit C2CREIA005/21-day challenge. All right. So before we get started, I do like to say that this is for educational purposes. I do websites, and if you guys need help, I'm happy to help out. And for C2C members, we give about a 25% off discount for our starter pack. So if you have any questions, go to toucanwebsites.com or C2CREIA.com/toucan. That's TOUCAN. And what that's going to do is get you in touch with me, and we'll work through your business. I'm not a big believer of, pointing you to someplace and throwing up something that, it will work for about 5 seconds. I really want it to be a part of your business so that you realize leads off of it. There's so many people out there that are selling websites that, hey, buy my product and here's a free website, which is great, but it doesn't do anything. And it's not set up right, so it's not going to get you traffic. And they always say, it's great for SEO, and it's really, really not. And with the things that we're going to go through today, you're going to see a lot of those reasons why those websites frankly suck and should be offensive. So that's actually why I got into this, why I got into doing websites, and why, more importantly, why I got into doing webinars to help people, because I'd go to conference after conference and keep seeing the same people and ask them like what they're doing, and they're always updating Facebook or trying to understand Twitter, and you don't need to. If you have a plan, it's so much easier. I really hate that so many people are throwing these people into the wilderness with either bad tools or no tools at all, and I just want to help out in any way I can. So definitely feel free to hit us up in the question box, or, go to that C2CREIA.com/toucan or toucanwebsites.com/contact, get in contact with me, and we'll get this rocking and rolling for you. Mainly because if you're not doing SEO, your customer's probably going to be you. All right, the power of SEO number 1. We talked about avatar. Who is your Steve? You have to have this picture of a person. It doesn't have to be Steve. I like to use the name Steve because a movie I watched once called The Tao of Steve. I thought it was a hilarious movie, but also it talked about Steve being like the archetype male person. And so because of what I ended up doing, that made a lot of sense. So I call him Steve, and I think about who's Steve and, his age, what kind of education he has. Is he a graduate student? Did he graduate high school? These things determine how our voice is used online, how we communicate. And a lot of these might change. So don't be too concerned that you're going to limit out somebody, because you won't. So I think one of the biggest questions that came up, and it came up a couple of times on that webinar, and you can go back and watch that on C2CREIA.com. But the questions that keep coming up is like, my product, my service, it can help anybody. It helps everybody. It's like, no, it doesn't, because the shotgun approach works for a lot of things, but online it doesn't work at all. If you go after everybody thinly, you'll hit nobody. What you want is not a shotgun that's going to blow everything out within 4 centimeters of where you shoot it from. You want a rifle that's going to directly target one person so well that they can't help but buy from you, because when they see it, they're going to think to themselves, this is exactly me. This is exactly what I need. And those people are in a certain point in their lives. They're looking at a certain thing, and they have a certain attitude about them. And you need to know who and, all of that information about them so that you can get into it. And the other thing we talked about was job, sports, and hobbies. What kind of income are they making? What kind of things do they like to do in their spare time? Because if you are a real estate agent, but you also love flying model planes, and I say that because my dad just dropped me off a remote control glider, so I'm learning how to play with that remote control glider, and I'm doing very poorly at it. I'm really glad it's not a real live glider, because I'd be in trouble. But knowing that if I was doing real estate, I could go in and say, hey, is it time to buy a new home with a landing pad in the background? Or, hey, don't you wish you had a runway in your backyard? You buy these 5 acres of land and you'd be able to fly your airplane all day. Now that's only going to hit a few people, but that'll make a couple of people think, and it probably will make a couple of people share as well. So you want to be interesting as well. So these things, and I hope you're seeing how I'm doing this. I'm saying you're looking at the job, sports, and hobbies, and I give you an example of how you can take that and kind of turn it on its side a little bit and make that work for your business. So that's why these are so important to know. Magazines, of course, it's very good to know what magazines they are for a couple of reasons. One is because that really helps narrow down your demographic. Two, it really helps with marketing, because chances are if you're doing Facebook marketing, somebody that likes GQ magazine will have liked GQ's Facebook page, and so you can get in front of those people very easily. The third thing is magazines rely on one thing: sponsors. So they're constantly looking for people who want to advertise. Sponsors is probably wrong. Advertisers. They want money. They're in the business of making money, just like we all are. So on their website, they will have a breakout of what it takes to advertise and why you should advertise with them. Now, if you're starting out, you're probably not going to be able to buy ad space on GQ. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. That goes for a high dollar point. However, how important would it be to know if you say, you know what, I think maybe GQ is not the right one, but what if it's men's fitness, or what if it's kayaking or scuba diver? Whatever these magazines are, you can go there, find out what they are doing with their advertising, and you can just do the same thing. How easy is that? Just find the magazine, and they'll tell you all of this information. Fantastic stuff. And I'll show you here in a couple of seconds why building the Steve is so important. But the last thing is concerns. What are they trying to accomplish? What keeps them up at night, and what do they worry about in your niche? Because if you can answer that, then that's how you get in front of them and get the conversion, is that concerns part. We talked about doing FAQs, frequently asked questions. I said, if you're starting out, do 5. If you feel like you're a rock star, do 10. Truth be told, you're never going to stop doing frequently asked questions. It's going to be a part of your life from now on. The other part is the should ask questions. A frequently asked question is going to be that thing that you pick up the phone and on that sales call, your customer is going to ask you that question. How much does it cost? How soon can I have it? All those things. So if you answer those right away, you satisfy them. They know what that is. So now they can go on to the next question and something that's more important. And some of these things you want to be a little bit strategic about. Take a look at it. A lot of people might not go to the website to look for certain questions, and some questions might be better answered in person. Like, that they're going to ask for how much and how soon. And some industries, you might not want them to know that. You want them to call in so you can have a conversation about them. In the industry I work in, with warehouse management systems, we want to have that discussion because it's different each and every time. And I don't want somebody to buy the wrong thing. And kind of the same thing with the websites. I don't really believe in a template. I want to make sure that everything gets done for you. So definitely keep those in mind. But the should ask questions are such a differentiator, because if there's a question that your audience is looking for or doesn't know exists, if you have it and your competitor's website doesn't, they're going to see you as more knowledgeable, that you know what's going on. So it's really, really important to get those should ask questions. We talked about a contractor's website. Definitely you want to talk about, what kind of time frames, like what types of, remodels do you do? But the should ask question should be, are you licensed and bonded? And talking about why that's important, because that is really, really important for that industry. And if they go to one website that talks about it and the next website doesn't, they're going to go back to that first guy and talk to him a little bit more. All right, power of SE2. The power of SEO number 2. All right, this is where we took those those templates, the avatar of Steve, and said, what words is Steve using to describe your product or service? We use the keyword planner, and here's a link to that. So if you want to go to that planner, you can go through and find out what words they are. And I gave an example that, man, when I started out doing this warehouse management stuff, we use terms warehouse management system, and we're using that all over the place. And man, there were crickets. I couldn't get anybody to my site. Couldn't figure out why. Went to a few trade shows and found out that the people that I was trying to get in front of weren't using that term. It was a more advanced term. It was for people that were in maybe $100 million a year business. And I was aiming kind of between $5 million to $50 million for this particular product for this website. And I couldn't figure out why they weren't coming. And it just dawned on me as we're listening, we're in this trade show. We were asking ourselves, like, why doesn't anybody know what a warehouse management system is? And we realized that it's not their job to learn what a warehouse management system is. It's my job to get in front of them to help them with however they recognize that. And it turned out to be inventory control and barcoding. So knowing those words got me from 0 visitors a day to 200 visitors a day. And I got to tell you, that's a huge, huge leap. And that's made a huge difference in our income and revenue. So definitely use that keyword planner to look that stuff up and sort by usage. We had a couple other tips in there too. So if you want to go to the power of SEO number 2, you'll find a lot of stuff about that. We also talked about Facebook ads. No, you don't have to buy any ads. It's totally free. Not placing an ad. What we're going to do is go through and pretend we're going to place an ad. And in so doing, as we enter in that data about Steve that we think we know, it's going to tell us how many people there are in that space. So we know exactly what that is. And that is important for online, but it's critical for those brick and mortar companies. So if you have a brick and mortar company and you don't know how many people you can service in your local area, man, I feel sorry for you. That's a tough uphill battle. I work with some people, and man, just knowing what that is before you sign a lease is huge. And going to the bank, if you need to go to the bank for taking out loans or any information like that, by having this information at your disposal, that's going to show you are going to be leaps and bounds above everybody else that's coming in for a loan. I mean, how many people will come up to them and say, okay, there's about 240,000 people within a 5-mile radius that are, of this demographic that are my ideal candidate. Wow. It's like that's a huge thing on a business plan to go to an investor or a banker or something like that. So highly recommend using this tool. Facebook ads is great anyway. When you start paying for it to get traffic, that can be an excellent tool, but it's absolutely awesome just to do beforehand as validating what you're trying to do. Is this right? Am I going after the right people? If I tweak this a little bit, will I hit a better pool of people? So yeah, go ahead, check that out. That's all in SEO number 2. So if you have any questions or want to dive deeper into it, definitely check that out. And then power of SEO number 3. All right, we talked about organic versus paid. I'm trying to get you guys all caught up now. But the pros for the organic was it's quote unquote free. I say quote unquote because while it's sort of free to put out there, it takes a lot of time and energy. So while it looks free, there is a hidden cost of just your time, your energy, or if you are paying for content, and I can show you how to do that. I like a company called iWriter. It makes it really easy to go through and get content written. The other pro is it's helpful. That's awesome because when people land on your website, you want them to stay. You want them to think that this is exactly where I want to be because this is answering the question that I put into Google. So it's fantastic. Also, it builds a nice solid framework platform for you to build everything else on. Organic, I would say, is almost critical to your business, and I highly recommend doing it each and every day if possible. Realistically, once a week is fantastic too. The con is that it's slow. When you go to pay or build organic traffic, you put the traffic out slowly. And then as Google sees it, they will recognize it. and they will shoot you traffic, but it goes slow. And when I say slow, I'm talking about maybe up to 6 months. So when you start doing this stuff, that's going to be kind of not a whole lot of benefit for the first month or two, but then you're going to see a huge, I shouldn't say huge, but a trickle of traffic, and that traffic turns into a snowball. And once that traffic comes in and stays, Google sees that, and let me tell you, they're watching the people that come to your site. And if people come to your site and bounce right off, guess what? Google is going to say, you know what, these guys aren't too legit, so I'm not going to send too many other people here. But if people stay on your site for a minute or two, Google's going to say, wow, 2 minutes in online time is like an eternity. These guys know what they're talking about, and people like it. So you will rise in the rankings because people stay on your site longer. And that is fantastic. That's why we do organic. Now, paid. This is really cool to go out and tie into a specific person like Steve. So we're able to target down to a certain type of person, so we get exactly the person that we want on our site, which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense. We can pay to have 100,000 people on our site, or work to get 100,000 people on our site, but if those aren't the right people, it was all a waste of time. So with paid advertising, you can usually target a little bit better and say, okay, these are the people I want, so I'm going to send them over. The pros is it's fast. You can turn it on today. You can have traffic tomorrow, and making sales, and that's the key part. So would you pay $5 to make $100 tomorrow? I hope you answer yes. Other thing is targeted. We just went over that. It's temporary. Why is that a good thing? It's because what people usually find is all of a sudden their phone's ringing off their hook, and they can't take any more business. So they have to turn it off so that they can actually provide service to the people that were calling in. So it is nice that you can turn it off and kind of deal with what came in and then turn it back on and kind of scale a little bit more. So that's what that is. I put cons expensive in quotes because really, like I said, if you spend $5 and make $100, is it expensive? No, that's awesome. If you spend $50 and make $100, still keep doing it. It's very cool. The other thing, and I put these in squares over here so you can see what they look like. But if you pay for advertising, it's going to go here and here. And what do you and I do? We skip over this part because we know it's an ad, and we look here because we know that's what we wanted to find. Now, of all the clicks that happen on this first page, this is going to get 3 to 4% of the traffic. It's kind of as a general rule. It obviously depends on the keyword and how well you target and all that, but it's somewhere around 3-4% of all of the clicks that happen on this page. Is that good? It's not bad. I mean, you look at this investing one, I bet Scottrade's paying a pretty penny to be up here on the top. So it kind of depends on your market, and it depends, the market also determines the cost, and it determines how valuable it is. So there's sort of a whole science around it, but the end result is if you'll get more of the clicks on the homepage here, but here is you'll get up to here much faster. So I usually recommend doing a blend of the two, and it really depends on your personal situation. If you have $100, I wouldn't recommend paid advertising yet. I'd say take that $100 and put it in the content. All right. And so this is usually the last slide, but we're going to go through some websites today. So it ends up being the last slide right now instead of at the end. So yeah, 25% off all C2C members. If you go to toucanwebsites.com/C2C, yeah, that'll get you the 25% off. There should be a contact form there. Go ahead and shoot me a message. Let me know kind of what you're doing. I want to know about your business. I don't want to just build a website because that doesn't make any sense as far as I'm concerned. If we're just doing stuff to put content out there, I mean, I don't even see the point of that. We want to make you sales, bro. We want to make sure that what we're doing turns into money in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's a charity, right? You're still looking to make money, charitable donations. You want people to interact, become involved, have people donate their time, if not money. If you have a site where you're trying to educate people, like what I'm doing, we also want you to be making money. You want things to turn around. You want to be able to pay for your site, right? So you'll notice you can go in there. It's mainly a contact form because I want you to get in touch with me, because I want to work you through some of these processes and make sure that we're going in the right direction. And we'll take you through all those things in step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 that we just went over, and I'll make sure that everything's looking right for your business. So go ahead and do that, and we will go right now into hosting. Well, actually, we'll call it programs. So when we build a website, there's so many different programs that we could talk about and use. So I'm going to go over some of the biggest ones and some of the ones I hate the most. And as far as hate the most, we're going to talk about Wix. I'm sorry, but I just do not like this program. It was originally built so that anybody could build a website. The problem is a lot of us should not be building websites. We might not come from a design background or know what we need. But more than that, it's not very good for SEO. They did finally take it away from being a Flash website, which was horrible for SEO. And they did make it HTML5, so it's a little bit better. But the end result, it's kind of hard to make, and it's hard to maintain. Even it is easy, but to do it is difficult. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just really frustrating. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm super not a fan. The cool thing is it does have different templates, and we'll go through all of these and talk about templates. Years ago, when I first started doing websites, we'd have to code all of this stuff, and I loved doing it. It was a lot of fun. I insisted on using a text editor because I felt like a hacker. It was really cool, but in the end, it wasn't that important. And when you said, okay, a year later, oh man, my website's out of date, I need a fresh look on it, you'd have to go through each and every file to update it to the new look and feel, and it would take forever. So what they did is they made something that was basically a style, so that all of your content is static, and the way that we show it gets changed. So if you had this word as bold, it'll always be bold. But let's say in this groomsman, that's some cool font he has going on there. Maybe if they change the design, they'd say, okay, we're going to make a new font that ties in a little bit better with the new look and feel. Well, all it'll do is just change the font for these things, so you don't have to redo everything, and it's literally one-click simple. So all of these ones are going to go through and have a number of different ways and looks and feels that you can do. You'll notice there's a phone here, and this is super important. Anymore, if you don't have a mobile site, you're missing out on so much business. And I don't know how to describe it. The company I work for during the day does one of the big things we do is mobility. And our site, when I started with the company, wasn't mobile. And I couldn't believe it. We were talking about redoing a website and such. So I came to them with some ideas and drawings, and I said, look, we have to have a mobile site. No matter what, this has to be mobile. Not only are we a mobile company, I put in Google Analytics, and I showed them that 60% of our traffic came from mobile. Now, how crazy is it that 60% of the people that came to us that said, hey, I'm curious about your product, we were not serving? So that's really what you need to think about, is how many people come to my site that I am not serving properly. And mobile is the best way to do it. And there's some other things we'll talk about later on down the line in another podcast about landing pages and make sure those are mobile friendly, because most people are clicking on those emails from their phone as they're traveling to work, hopefully on a subway, not driving. And then as we go throughout the day, one of my best times to check email is when I'm waiting in line to order my lunch. I'll go through and knock out a few emails as I go. If somebody shoots me something that's not on a mobile friendly, it's just going to make it that much more difficult. So we want to be sure that whatever we choose does have a mobile component. And obviously you can tell I'm very excited about mobile, and I think that's really important. So with this, we can go through and pick templates. We can edit the template and kind of change the look and feel a lot with Wix. But actually creating all the extra content and stuff, blog is so important, and they really don't service blogs very well. And news feeds, stuff like that. I really don't care for Wix. So, take that as you like. You can definitely give it a try. Most of these come with like a free trial, so you can see if you like them or not. One thing you will want is to get your domain name. You can see here mine is going to be, I think, toucanwebsites.wix.com, and you don't want to put that on a business card. It just looks cheesy. You want to have toucanwebsites.com, because that shows that you spent the $10, that you could afford $10 to buy a domain name, because that's really what they go for. And we'll get into buying a domain name in the future on this actual webinar. So, sorry, hold on one second. Yeah, so somebody's asking about WordPress. Yes, actually, yes, WordPress is probably my favorite, and we were absolutely going to get into that. Don't worry about that. So you've kind of hit on Wix. I don't recommend it. If you look at this and it looks pretty interesting to you, you can definitely check it out. But it's basically for a static website. I would not plan on getting search traffic to one of these websites. This is mainly for, you need a website on your business card, or maybe if you wanted to have a resume or something like that online, you could do that. But I believe even that has a certain amount of cost involved. So yeah, let's pass on. Squarespace. This is actually pretty cool. This is one of those ones where you can go in, and if you went there tonight, you signed up for an account. It's a decent amount of money per month, but you can have a website up in like an hour or two, and with your content. So Squarespace, it's pretty cool. I have some friends that they do websites as well, and they swear by it. This is the tool that they use. They use it for not only their business, for all the businesses they set up. They have training programs around it. It's a pretty good site system. You will at some point move up to WordPress, but this is a great way to go forward. If you are a person who likes to tinker, this should really be purple. Dang it. You want to make sure that you have access to make those types of changes. Squarespace is probably a really good way to go. I would and almost always recommend that if you're that type of person, you should really focus on sales more than your website and how it looks, because a lot of these things don't have conversion value. And that's what we want to look at is, if I'm going to spend time and energy thinking or worrying about my website, I want to make sure that whatever change I get put in place converts more people into a sale, right? So if I'm going to spend, I charge, maybe $100 to $200 an hour based on what we're doing. If it costs $200 to make a change, how much sales do I want to get? Probably more than $200 worth of it. If I just change it because it helps me sleep at night, is it worth $200? I usually argue not, but sometimes it is. All right, so it's really all about sales. The other thing that's really cool about Squarespace, WordPress actually has this too, but you can do a lot of this stuff straight from your phone or tablet. They have fantastic apps. I would say Squarespace's apps are actually better than WordPress. So if you want to manage this on the go, you totally can. If you have a shopping site, let's say you're doing a e-commerce website, you just click a button and you can start adding products, and it will take care of the whole shopping experience for you. That's pretty cool. For most companies, I would recommend putting your products on a place called Etsy. Etsy is a place, if you haven't seen it, I apologize, I probably should have added that on there. Etsy is a great place where you can see people have built craft stuff, but it's like that. And the reason I say that is because one thing you really want to think about is, if you are building your own website with an e-commerce store, you now have to drive traffic to it so that you can get sales. The cool thing about Etsy is people go there all day, every day that are looking to buy. So you could probably get started much faster going here and then start having a certain amount of products over here on your own website, Squarespace, WordPress, or what have you. So it has a lot of cool tools. Squarespace has some plugins. I shouldn't say plugins, but built-in features that are really nice. And I think maybe the thing that attracts most people is it's all hosted by Squarespace, so all of the updates happen automatically. You don't have to worry about any of that. They take care of the security, and just it leaves it very much worry-free. Now, the reason that is because it's generally not for big business. When you get to a certain point, you are going to want to graduate into WordPress. This is the back end of WordPress. So what this does is sort of, let's see, I think Harvard is on WordPress. Most colleges, I would say, are, there was one of the big government websites was WordPress for a while. This is kind of nice because it's actually an application that you host or pay to have hosted, but it's free, right? So the cost of this is only what it costs to host. So you're basically paying for the amount of people that come to your site. And when you're first starting out, that's not a whole lot of people. So where Squarespace might be $25 a month, WordPress can be, maybe $4 a month. So it makes a lot of sense sometimes to go to WordPress if you know that you're going to get big and you want the power and the muscle behind it. Now, there's a lot of really cool things in here that we want to do. You can see that there's updates. So this means that I need to go over here to my updates area, and then I'm going to select what it is. Oh, a new version of WordPress. So I'm not going to do that right now because we're looking at it, but it does tell you what needs to be updated, and it's going to update itself in a single click. So it makes it really nice and easy to use. It does take a little bit of getting used to because you're going to have to think of things in new ways. We'll get a little bit more into this when we talk about, we'll probably have a whole episode on WordPress and, posts versus pages and things like that. But the cool thing is with WordPress, you can see I have a Magazine Pro is the theme I'm using from Genesis, and Genesis is the core theme. If I wanted to add a new theme and change it, dude, it is crazy simple. There's a number of themes that are automatically available to you, and WordPress is the most popular one out there right now. So you can go out and find stuff pretty much everywhere. I beg you to please not install anything that you are not very familiar with. There's a few places that I would buy from. Theme Forest is one where a lot of people go to. I have yet to get one theme that has worked from Theme Forest, so I would not recommend going there. But pretty much everything I do comes from Studio Press, and they make the Genesis framework. That's fantastic stuff. There's a Graph Paper Press are gorgeous themes if you're an artist and you want something that's very vivid and visually appealing. WooCommerce is great for kind of more of a fun one, and Woo Themes makes WooCommerce, and WooCommerce is a great shopping cart plugin. And while we're talking about plugins, this is what's really cool about it. If you can go in here and say, okay, you know what? I want to run an e-commerce store. So I just type in e-commerce, do a search, and it'll go through and it'll find all the plugins that are available that will help me do this. And there's 20 pages of things that can help me. So I can find something that's exactly perfect to what I'm looking to do. And I can just click on details and scroll over to screenshots, and I can see exactly what it looks like and get a very clear picture of the functionality right from here. So I've not left my website. I'm in the admin side, and I just click install, and boom, it's in, and I just click activate to activate it. And I don't know how much easier to make it. That's pretty easy. Squarespace makes it one step easier because it's just turning the function on, but this gives you all the choices that you want and the power to do it really quickly. The other thing is, if you've gone to pretty much any marketer's website, you'll notice it's in WordPress, and there's a reason for it. It's really the framework to do all that. And show you the website I have right here and kind of the framework that this is all goes in, what it looks like. And let's say you do want to move stuff around. I can go to appearance and widgets, and I can just change the way everything's laid out. It's drag and drop, which makes it really awesome for me. So in this sidebar, I have my About Us and social icons. So I'm going to go ahead and update that, move those. If I refresh this screen, you'll notice my About Us is going to swap with my contact. And that's pretty easy. So you can do a lot of this stuff on your own. And that is another key point. I do a lot of this stuff because I think it's really important to work with people in a way so they can change their own data. I had somebody call me the other day that they wanted to hire me to come in to change the phone number of a particular employee that's on the website. And I'm not inexpensive, and I was kind of surprised. I'm like, why don't you just go on there and change it? Nobody knew how. They didn't have access to it. They weren't able to with their website because of the way the guy designed it. So I very much value being able to put something in so you guys can go ahead and change it. And I highly recommend, as you're looking at these different ones, to find something that you're able and have the power to do something as simple as changing the phone number. Because how important is that? The phone number is wrong, and all of a sudden you're not taking calls. You need to make sure that that's right. So WordPress is super powerful. The other thing is there's a huge just group of people making things for WordPress. So where Squarespace is fantastic and it's really tight knit. So you have all programmers working in one building, building it. So it's going to be solid and it's all going to work together seamlessly. It's true, WordPress, there's going to be some things that don't pair well together, and it's sort of trial and error. However, there's so many things out there that you can do. Like WooCommerce is a completely separate group of people that make things specifically for WordPress. So they have gorgeous themes. They have excellent plugins. They have there's so many shopping cart things that you can do. There's so many things, just ways you can break WordPress up. You can have what we call a multi-site, so that that it's used a lot with education. So there's like edublogs.com or something is made on that, so that each college has sort of their own website, but it all groups together into one. And actually we did that for C2CREIA for a while. So you get so much power out of this puppy. I highly, highly recommend it. Let me go ahead and kill Skype there. So WordPress is awesome. This would be my favorite. Squarespace, I would say, would be my second favorite. Now, there's going to be times where you just need to get stuff out there and get started. Show you a couple different options. One is Tumblr. This has been making it not a resurgence, but it's been very interesting lately on how this works out. So you can see I go to my Tumblr and it's going to show me all my friends' stuff. And the cool thing is, if I like it, I can reblog it. So I can click this one button and it'll go out on mine. So it looks like I just made that post, and it'll reference back to the Frogman. And actually, I haven't done this for a while, so I don't even remember who the Frogman is. But you can do stuff like that. You can share it. You can comment on it. You can do different things. So it works very similar to a blog. You can do a text post, which is like this. You can go and add a photo. Quotes are popular. Link to other content or somewhere else on the internet. You can do a lot of different things here with Tumblr, and it's a cool place to get started, to get something up there and out there. And it's not bad I would say this is almost more of a social media tool than it is a website platform, but some people do use it as that. So, it's something to examine. Maybe this is something that works for you. Maybe you don't want a full-blown website. You just want, a place to get traffic, and you'll do everything on there because you don't have static pages. Everything that you make will just keep going down the list. So it might be something you want to take a look at. Something else you can do is, here's my Tumblr. So this is what I do. I just have all my stuff from Instagram, which is kind of where I hang out most. I just got back from Hawaii with my wife. So I just have them automatically post there. It's a nice professional looking thing. It's not too bad. WordPress also has a sort of its own hosted thing. So you can see I have jvelthoen.wordpress.com, and I have, not a whole lot of stuff up here, and it's just mainly so that I have something for my name. So you can do something like this and build something here. And I actually have one friend who, man, she rocks this site. She has her whole internet presence on WordPress.com, which is different than the program of WordPress. So this is your WordPress thing, and they'll host it. You don't have to pay for hosting. The problem is you can't use a lot of the plugins. You can't have a lot of custom themes, and there's certain rules that you have to abide by when you're on this. So if you have a business, this might not be the right place for it. It might be the right place to get started so you can have something up quickly, and then we can take it on and move it over to your own website. Something that a guy said, he calls it the own your own race course. It makes perfect sense. If you have a business, you really can't rely on the way somebody else does things, because the way they do things might change. All right. So my friend, though, she has a couple 100,000 people that visit her website a day or a month. Absolutely crazy traffic. So there is a lot of opportunity with this. All that said, I'm not too much of a fan. So you can play with it, and it might make a lot of sense if you're looking at this tonight and you're wondering, how can I get started right now? Go to WordPress.com. Pick something out. You can see back in the day I did first initial last name. I would recommend doing first name, last name, or your entire business name. Don't do funky, cool Twitter type things, because remember, Twitter had a huge background of marketing. They were able to push that out and spend a lot to get their brand noticed, and it made sense for them. If you have John's real estate company, somebody sees that, they know your name's John and that you have a real estate company, and it instant recognition of exactly what you do. Beauty. All right. Going down the list, one of the big things is that you need a domain name. I've tried a number of different companies. I did go away from GoDaddy for a while. I am back to GoDaddy. Not super happily. I use another one called NameSilo a lot. Where you have your domain hosted is not, or registered, I should say, is not as important. You want to make sure it's something that's easy to get to, easy to manage. And I would say also inexpensive. GoDaddy is pretty inexpensive. They do a lot of stuff as far as domain registrar. In my opinion, they're pretty good. You notice right here, website builder for just $1 a month. I told you there was going to be a couple of websites I told you I hated, and GoDaddy is one of them. Do not have website hosting at GoDaddy. Do not use GoDaddy for your website. Not only is it horrible to use and get used to, but also it is, so this is kind of the difficult part of the conversation. If you had a sketchy website, more than likely you'd go to GoDaddy to do it, and just do it all in one and get it hosted up and out and get stuff out there. So the problem is, in some of these hosting places, we'll get into hosting down the line probably next, and is that you can have your website hosted on a place that's right next to, we'll just say a spammer, and just to be polite. And the problem is because of all the stuff that the spammer is doing is on the same server that your website is, you're going to be penalized just as much as he is, as they're get hit over and over and over again, it's going to basically steal from your storage and space, and it's just all kinds of messed up. So I recommend you can buy a domain name at GoDaddy. I usually, if you're going to do email, business email, like your name at yourdomain.com, use Google Apps. Google is fantastic. If you don't like Google and want to be separate from Google, Microsoft does it too. So it keeps changing. I think it's Outlook.com is the most recent iteration, and you can host your business email there. And so I got to tell you, I know there's a big Mac versus PC thing. I'm on the side of PC. Microsoft, I'm sorry, but as far as business goes, Microsoft still dominates. So, either Google or Microsoft for your hosting for your email would be best. And the reason being is because when it comes time to move, GoDaddy's kind of difficult to get everything out of. So just something to keep in mind as you're going forward. So if you have a business, definitely get the domain name. If you haven't gotten bought the domain name for yourself, wow, just really soon just buy that. I have justinvelthoen.com because, I want somebody to search for me, to find me, and I want to be in control of what that website says. So I have that. And if you do WordPress, you're going to be able to, add on another domain very easily. I can show you how to do that, work with you on that, and we can get that set up. Very inexpensive. We can do a special add-on if that's something that you guys want to do. I also recommend getting the domain names of your children's names. You don't have to put anything up at this point, but just to make sure down the line, 5-10 years from now, when they're graduating high school and going out in the world and looking for employment, they can set up that place where they can have all the information about them. So it's highly recommended. Obviously, you want it for your business. Get it for your name as well. That'll help out, because if you are your business, people will search for you as well, and this gives you the control over what they find. All right, so I'll go over Etsy just real quick again. If you do have a product-based business, Etsy is a great way to start. Just make sure that it's something that you're creating yourself. If you're doing a distributor, retail things, something like that, you want to hit up eBay or Amazon. Both of those are fantastic. I have a friend who made a killing on Amazon just by finding things that people liked and wanted and ordering it from a manufacturer, posting it on Amazon, and all he does is when Amazon says you're almost out of product, he orders more product from the manufacturer to be shipped to Amazon, and he sits around and collects checks. So definitely give that a shot too. All right. Let's see if there's any questions lingering out there. Pardon me. I think we're pretty good. Sorry about that. My voice has been a little bit crackly today. All right. So, so of the hosting, so somebody's asking about hosting and what they should do for that. They asked where to put the website, like how do they get that in the space. So I use a couple different places. Any of my clients, like I'll put it into my hosting, so it's all part of that. You only have to pay and deal with one person. But if you want to, Hawk Host is where we host some stuff. They're pretty good. I'm using Site5 for a lot of my stuff. Bluehost, HostGator, I would actually stay away from. I had so many issues with both those companies. Let's see, stay away from GoDaddy for hosting. Speedy Sparrow was another one, if you guys want to try those. The cool thing about WordPress hosting is it's going to be like somewhere between $3 to $6 a month. It's really inexpensive. I spend more than that on coffee a month for sure, a week. So, you can check those out, see what works best for you. You might even call any of them and ask them questions and see who gives the better response, who has the better service, and go with somebody you feel comfortable with. Kind of personal preference. The cool thing is with the stuff that I do, I install backup programs and such so that if I don't like somebody, man, I can be out of there in a couple of weeks and onto something else. Well, I can be out of there that night, which is usually what happens. I just have a number of websites that I move at once. So, I would say definitely talk to people. If you if you're looking at somebody and you can't get a hold of somebody at the time, chances are if you have a problem, you won't be able to get in touch with somebody either. WordPress, I will say, does have what they call a one-click install for most of these hosting companies, and they will tout that, and they will say, "Oh, dude, it's just a one-click install. You just set it in, tell it the blog name, bada bing, bada boom, you have a website." Yes, you do. However, that keeps me in business because when you do that, it basically advertises to all the hackers how you set up your website, so they know all the default templates and they can go in and just make your life a living heck. Obviously, I do not recommend that, and it's something that we can't take off. So we basically have to rebuild your website if you do it that way, and especially if you do get hacked or get compromised in some way, shape, or form. I recommend it just always. If you have a one-click install site, that we just import your data to somewhere else and start over from scratch. So you just keep that in mind. Do not do a one-click install. It's more trouble than it's worth. Hire somebody to do your website for you. Not only will you get a better looking website, you won't have all the hassle. It won't take you nearly as long. Learning how to do websites, learning how to do programming does take time. These are all applications, so it is much, much easier to manage. But getting them set up, you want to make sure that it's done right so that everything's built on the right foundation and moving forward. So if you have any more questions, go ahead and hit me at toucanwebsites.com/contact. Don't forget to go to toucanwebsites.com/C2C to get your 25% off any websites you would like. And that should be great. We'll see you next week. Let us know if you have any questions, anything burning. We might make that our next one. If not, we'll show you how to generate that content, what to do to make that perfect post. And just a guess, next week's going to go a little bit long. So congratulations. Thanks you guys for staying, and we'll talk to you soon.